You must have heard about the legend of the werewolf. Not about the man who turns into a wolf, but about the opposite of that. Their enemies, the men. Gato o Werecats. That's what we're going to talk about here today, the legend of the catmen around the world, including its Brazilian version. As I've already mentioned here, right, obviously the Werecat or catmen are those people, right, who, according to the legends, can transform into cats. But sometimes they're just born that way without transformation. This type of transformation, along with the werewolf, is part of therianthropy, which is when people can transform into animals, whether it's a wolf, cat, hyena, dromedary, or ant. Actually, I'm not sure if ant counts in this. I may have said something silly, but you got the idea. For people who turn into kittens, meow, meow, the word would be aleuranthropy, which was really hard to say. And it comes from ancient Greek that combines the two words, right? Cat and man. It is used to describe both the physical transformation of people into felines, as well as beings that mix characteristics of both species and that same origin. It also gave rise to the word aleurophilia, which would be a term used for people who like cats. Well, if a person who transforms into a wolf is called a lycanthrope, here, a person who transforms into a feline is called an aleuranthrope, and, depending on the legend, he can take the form of a pet cat, being a very cute creature, or also of large predators like tigers, lions, and leopards, or even magical felines that only exist in people's imagination. And even though we have several beings in pop culture that take this form, right? When it comes to legends, they are still not very well known. Remember, if you like this kind of video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share, and hype it up too. If you want and are able to help me even more, you can become a member of the channel for less than 5 rays, and you support me a lot to keep this work going here. You get early access to videos and also access to exclusive videos like the ones on the screen. Another way you can help me is by using the Amazon affiliate link, which is pinned in the comments. Or you can click on the product that's showing up on the screen. It's probably a book I left there. Just click on it, and you'll be redirected, and you'll also be helping me out. And since we're here talking about humans, felines, right? Beings that are the union of both sides. So we can't help but talk about the gods of Egypt. There are several here who are archetypes, like, for example, the most famous of them, Bastet. Bastet ended up changing a lot over time. In the beginning, she was a goddess who had the body of a woman and the head of a wild cat, and sometimes even her body. Sometimes she had a little cat body. But nowadays, she has a slimmer body, really like a woman, and the head of a domestic cat. And Bastet was a completely bipolar goddess, just like cats are in a way, right? She could be a goddess of the home, completely gentle, who takes care of pregnant women, or a totally crazy goddess who attacks anyone who tries to go against Ra or against the pharaoh, since she was also, in a way, a goddess of war. And because of this connection with the sun, she was also called the Eye of Ra. And, much later, due to the influence of the Greeks, she also came to be associated with the moon. And in a city called Bubastes, where the main temple of the goddess was located, people held great festivals in her honor. And because she was a very popular and also very beloved goddess, that's where the respect for cats among the ancient Egyptians came from. And many of these animals were even mummified to honor her memory. And still talking about Bastet's more warrior side, right? We have Sekhmet, who is the goddess with the head of a lioness, and she might be the most dangerous goddess in Egypt. That's because, besides being a goddess of war, as if all of that wasn't enough, she was seen as the very force of Ra, the goddess Ra would send to destroy his enemies. But once, when humans started to kind of not care about the god anymore, Ra saying he was old and already senile and that he should just go away, it would be better that way. He got so angry that he ended up creating the goddess Sekhmet and ordered her to kill all the humans on Earth. And Ra, incredibly enough, ended up being surprised when Sekhmet actually decided to kill all the humans on Earth. Then he thought, oops, I messed up, didn't I? He decided with the humans who were left on Earth to make a drink that was kind of like blood. When Sekhmet went to drink it, well, not went to, when she actually drank it, she kind of got drunk and fell asleep there. Ra reportedly transformed her into either the goddess Bastet or Hathor, the goddess of love. There, in ancient Egypt, philosophically speaking, love and anger are kind of two sides of the same coin. And despite that terrible and completely psychopathic side, she also had a very positive side. Since she was the lady of diseases, She also knew how to cure diseases, thus becoming the goddess who looked after doctors and healers. In Egypt, she formed a divine family in Memphis. On her husband's side, Ptah, who would be the creator, and also her son, Nefertem, who would be the healer. We also have the primordial lioness goddess, right? Who is not Sekhmet, but who was created by Ra. Also, in this case, actually by Atum-Ra, who in fact created her in a way that was somewhat, how can I say, strange, right? Let's say that Atum-Ra wanted to play with his bird using his hand, and from that he ended up creating two gods, who would be Tefnut and the god Shu. Shu would be the god of air, and she in this case would be the goddess of moisture, dew, and rain. She also appears with a solar disk on her head and a serpent on her forehead, one of the stories involving Tefnut, which aren't many. In fact, they say she had an argument with her father, who is the god Ra, and she decided to leave Egypt and went to Nubia in the form of a fierce lioness. There, since she was the lady of moisture, when she left Egypt, she made everything dry up completely, bringing a huge drought while she stayed there, playing like a cat, hunting other beings. Ra became desperate with everything that was happening and asked Thoth and Shu to convince her to come back. Through many conversations and patience, they calmed her and brought her home. When Tefnut returned, moisture came back to the land, the fields blossomed again, and there was a huge celebration all over Egypt to celebrate the end of the drought, the return of the lioness goddess. And now, moving more to the masculine side of things, we have Anhur, also called Onuris by the Greeks, the Egyptian god of war and hunting. He was regarded as a great protector, defending the supreme god's solar bark. Ra, which sounds really cool and awesome, his role, but actually several gods have already done that. It seems like Ra's bark is almost like a brothel because any god can get in there. Anyway, because of Onuris's courage, he received the title of Slayer of Enemies and became the patron god of Egyptian soldiers. The name means the one who brought back the distant one. This name comes from a legend that actually can be pretty funny. What I'm going to talk about now is another version of the Tefnut legend, which says that she left Egypt and caused a huge drought. In this version, she actually ran away as well. But the one who was sent to deal with her and bring her back was Anhur. And when she returned, she ended up becoming Anhur's wife, who is the goddess Menhit. In art, Anhur always appears as a really badass, strong man with a beard and sometimes with a lion's head. He usually wears a crown with 4 large feathers and holds a spear, symbolizing his warrior spirit. And even though he is a god of battles, he also represented human creativity. And over time, he became so popular that he started being compared to the Greek god Ares, which is a bit sad for him, but anyway. And besides that, we also have the god's form, Ra, who appears in the form of a lion or a cat. In this case, the great cat of Heliopolis, called Miwa. In this way, he would defeat the great serpent Apepe, who would be the lord of chaos and would devour the sun and end the world. Just a reminder that a lot of the information I'm bringing here is from Portal dos Mitos, so go check them out. Just type Portal dos Mitos on Google and it will show up. Well, still, speaking of Africa, we also have other African laces that have the rare cats. It's very common to hear stories about people who turn into powerful beasts like lion men, panther men, and hyena men. Among these creatures, we have the Leopard-Men standing out. In these stories, the leopard is typically not a cursed human, but a god or goddess who disguises themselves as a person to live among us. Often, these deities fall in love with humans and have families, resulting in children from these unions. They usually have special powers, such as being able to transform into a leopard or receiving other kinds of magical powers. Now, going over to Asia, we have the figure of Cat, who takes the form of a tiger, and in India, the Tiger Man is seen as an extremely dangerous sorcerer who represents a great threat both to livestock and to people. And he can turn into a man-eater at any moment. These stories spread across various regions, even reaching Persia, carried by travelers who were impressed when they encountered real Bengal tigers. In China, however, the origin of these creatures is different. They are often victims of a curse that is passed from father to son, much like werewolves, or they are created by vengeful spirits. In the past, there was even a belief that other peoples were actually animals in disguise, who could reveal their true nature at any moment. Besides that, we also have the dark story of Chan, who is a ghost of someone who was killed by a tiger. He becomes an extremely evil being and starts helping the animal hunt new human victims. Often, he is the one responsible for turning ordinary people into new Werecats, or men, tiger. In Thailand, they also believe that a common tiger can end up turning into a tiger man if it eats many human beings. In addition, there are powerful sorcerers who use their magic to shapeshift and transform into these beasts. In Indonesia and Malaysia, there are the harimau jajan. Their transformation can come from family, from the use of fasting spells, or from pure willpower. Unlike other monsters, he usually isn't bad to people unless he's very hungry or wants revenge. In fact, he usually only transforms at night to protect the crops against wild boars. A similar idea exists among the Khans tribe in India, who saw a tiger man as a friend who only attacks the group's enemies. On the other hand, in Malaysia, there are the bajans, who are much more dangerous types of catmen, acting like demons or vampires. Still in Indonesia, there are also the sindaku. These beings can transform into creatures that are half man and half tiger. However, they have a unique rule. The transformation only works if they are in their homeland. For some odd reason, they must touch their chest to the ground where they originated to transform. In the Americas, the main character is the Jaguar man, or man-jaguar. In ancient cultures like the Aztecs and Mayans, the jaguar was a sacred animal. Priests and shamans used to wear jaguar skins in rituals to spiritually transform into these beasts. Among the Aztecs, there was even a famous military elite, the Jaguar warriors, who wore clothes and masks that imitated the animal to gain courage and strength in battle. And among the Khitans, it was believed in the Baalams, sorcerers who transformed into jaguars, especially during the full moon, to protect the cornfields. Then in the United States, the stories are more modern and treated as urban legends. Some people report encounters with creatures that look like Bigfoot, but with a cat's face, tail, and claws. Beings that walk on two legs are widely studied in cryptozoology, but most people believe that they are actually American catmen, regarding Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. Actually, in Guarani legends, we have the Iguarete Aba, which is also a jaguar man. The name, as you can see, comes from the Guarani words Iguarete, which means jaguar, and Aba, which means man. He is essentially the South American version of Arquette. Unlike the classic werewolf, the Iguarete is not the victim of a curse, but actually, he is described as a sorcerer or shaman who uses ancient knowledge to transform himself. He appears as a common jaguar, but reports say he is much larger and has a short tail, and his forehead is bald and hairless. In some versions, he keeps human hands instead of paws. The legend says that the sorcerer spreads a jaguar skin on the ground and rolls over it while reciting prayers. In some versions, he needs to pray a kind of creed backwards and perform rituals with smoke and chicken feathers. He has a dark preference for human flesh, but also for cattle and goats. This legend is actually quite well known in some regions, like the Gran Chaco, which covers Mato Grosso do Sul in Brazil, Paraguay, and northeastern Argentina. They say you can defend yourself from this creature with specially blessed bullets or machetes, but to actually kill it, you need to cut off the creature's head. And if someone finds the skin that the sorcerer uses to transform and destroys it, he also loses his powers forever. If you watched the video up to this point, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share, and hype it up too. And leave a comment below. What did you think of the Arquette? Do you think it would win in a fight against the werewolf? Write it down and see you next time.